Hi guys, in this video I would like to share with you my new work that I've recently completed, and this is a spring summer top that I've knit using yarn from Drops. So precisely this is Drops Air, so it's fluffy, nice and very pleasant to touch yarn. Okay, and I chose this yarn for its texture, and I also chose a pattern for this top that is very interesting pattern, and yet it's very simple to complete. So if you like the design of this top and if you'd like to create something like that, then I will be happy to guide you through the process, show you, provide a quick overview of how I've knit this top, and we can knit the pattern together. Okay, and so let's start with the needle size. For this top, I've selected needle size 5.5 millimeters. So if you choose Drops Air as your yarn, then it's going to be 5.5, although the manufacturer suggests smaller needles, but to create this exactly texture and not to be to like an airy and soft look, I've selected for 5.5. Okay, so then for my size, the gauge of the pattern for this top, so the pattern is this is one pattern repeat like that. Okay, so it's quite big. Let's measure. So it is about 11 centimeters by 22 centimeters in height. Okay, the gauge for my size for using, if you choose the needle size 5.5, then the gauge is going to be 16 stitches by 21 row, meaning that you get 16 stitches in 10 centimeters or 1.6 stitches in 1 centimeter. So this way, knowing the gauge, you can actually determine how many stitches you would need to cast on for your top. Okay, so for example, for this top, I know that I would need a certain amount of pattern repeats to be able to create it for the front and back, because and this amount has to be even. Okay, otherwise I would not be able to divide the top for the front and back evenly, to be able to work to continue to work on the body of this top. Okay, so sorry, I forgot to tell you. So for my size, which is ML, medium large, I needed to cast on the stitches to have 5 patterns for the front and 5 for the back, so it's 10 in total, and 2 knit in the round. So after the ribbing, I was knitting in the round for 2 full patterns here, and then I divided the top for the front and back. There is no decreases here, just the division for the front and back, and then I continued to work on the body of the sweater in turn rows, and then after I've reached the point where I wanted to shape the neckline, I placed the back stitches. So the back stitches were placed on hold after I divided them from here, and I continued to work on the front of the body. Then when I reached the point here, which is about 2 full patterns. Sorry, my mistake to explaining earlier. So the division happened here after knitting 1.5 closer, like almost a half of a pattern, 1.5. And then when I reached 2, when I needed 2 complete patterns, almost 2, here is the 2 complete patterns, 1 and 2, I started divided them for decreasing stitches for the neckline. And the way I decrease stitches for the neckline, I simply determine the middle 10 middle stitches, casted off the 10 stitches, continue to work on one section of the shoulder, and then casted off another 4 and another 3 and another 3. After this portion of the top was done, I moved on to the other shoulder, completed the same steps, 4, 3 and 3, and placed the front stitches on hold, and then moved on to the back stitches. On the back there is no decreases for the neckline, so I was just knitting straight for 2 full patterns in height. And then here you have the option of whether closing, joining the front and back stitches with an invisible seam, such as here, or just simply binding off stitches for the front and for the back and sewing it from the inside. Okay. The neckline. The neckline was created with a 1x1 ribbon, where I would knit the purl stitches and skip the knit stitches yarn behind the work. That was one row, and the second row I would knit all knit stitches as knit stitches and all purl stitches as purl stitches. So, and then I would just alternate these 2 rounds for the height that I needed. I wanted to, and then I simply then closed all the stitches using the tapestry needle. So how to do that, there is a tutorial on my channel as well. For the shoulders, it's a short sleeve kind of. There is no decreases, as I previously said. The height here is about 17 centimeters, and then I simply picked up the stitches for the underarm and use the 1x1 ribbon technique as here. Same technique was applied at the beginning, and then and that's it, guys. So if you like the top and you would like to knit something similar, let's just move on to the pattern, and I'm going to show you how to knit it. Okay, you can screenshot this pattern, and I'm going to explain you in a second what each sign here means. Okay, so this here, this stitches here means knit stitches. These are purl stitches. These are signs for 2 together yarn overs, and here is just you slip 1 stitch, you knit the other one, and you pass the slip stitch. 1 second here. Okay, slip 1 stitch, knit a 2nd stitch, and pass the slip stitch over the knit stitch. That's my cheat sheet if I forget something. All right, and this section here simply means, and this is where it is on the top, it simply means that for a certain amount of rows I was skipping the yarn in front of work, passing the yarn in front of work and skipping the knit stitches, so I would not knit the knit stitches for 4 rows. Okay, so that would create a nice appearance like that. Here it's important to be mindful not to tighten the yarn, otherwise it's gonna just you know, shift the pattern. So not too loose, not too too tight, just keep an even tension. Okay. All right, so let's get started. I've already knitted a little bit of the ribbing to be able to start the pattern. And then in the first row, so the pattern shows all all odd rows as our, you know, rows where we would follow the pattern, and then all even rows we would just knit all stitches in pattern. Okay, so very first round is going to be a round, because we're gonna knit in the round. It's going to be here. We're just slightly gonna modify this section here because it's right after the ribbing, and it's just half of the, you know, half of the pattern, because it goes, if there is a, if there was a pattern underneath, it would have few more rounds like here, but because it's just half, we are going to, instead of knitting the knit stitches, we're gonna just do the purl stitches. Okay, and which will result into this appearance here. See, it's just the purl stitches. And then in the middle, when you work the body, then you do the slipped knit stitches with the yarn in front of the work. Okay, very first row, we come, so it's the edge stitch, and then knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, knit one, knit one. Okay, 1 2 3 knit stitches, and I need another, and 1 2 3 purl stitches, 1 2, I need to purl another one and knit another one. Okay, so now it's very super important to, when you knit in the round, and if so, let's say you've casted on 170 stitches to have 10 patterns in the round, it's super important to place markers where at the beginning of each pattern repeat. Otherwise, if you get, you know, forget where it starts and something like that, then the pattern will shift and you won't be able to work the top. You will have to redo it and start all over again. So just knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, and then we need, here we're gonna do 4 purl stitches just one time right after the ribbing. 1 2 3 4, and then again knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, and we finish off with the purl stitch and the edge stitch. We're gonna knit, well, here we're gonna work in turn rows, but when you're gonna knit in the round, there won't be any wrong sides. It's gonna be just the right side. But the second row, you would knit, instead of turning your top, you would knit just all stitches in pattern. Okay, you can also knit this top in turn rows and just sew the top, the back and front in later on the sides. And if you work in turn rows, then this section here, this one, to create this yarn, instead of keeping the yarn in front, you would be keeping the yarn behind your needles. So these are the purl stitches. third one, third row, we start with the purl stitch. So to create a seed stitch pattern, right? Purl, and we need 1, 2 purl stitches, 1 knit stitches, purl, knit, purl, knit, and then 3 purl stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4 knit stitches. So where we had purl stitches, now we do knit stitches, and then again purl. So and then we count here purl, 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 knit, knit, knit. So 3 purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. Okay, we are done with the third row. Fourth row, we simply knit all stitches in pattern. Again, if you are working in the round, it's going to be the exact same way you're going to be working the stitches. So you're going to be just following the purl stitches and knit stitches and work them as they are. All right. Fifth row. So I have here, and see how it goes. So it creates like an incline like that, right? So the purl stitches are going, where are they? Here. This guy is here. Here you can see the purl stitches, how they run. And this section here, it's this one here. Okay, so you don't see it at the end. So fifth row, knit, purl, knit, and 3 purl. And see how it begins to shift. 1, 2, 3. So it was, my purl stitches were here, now they're here. And now we need 2 together. Here I would need to turn my knit stitch. Okay, and we're gonna knit it through the front loops to create a right linen decrease. And here is a knit, and now we do a yarn over, 2 knits, 2 purls, 1, 2, knit, purl, knit, purl. This row or round we knit in pattern, and the yarn overs, if you knit in the round, yarn overs, where are they? In turn rows, in turn rows you are knitting them as knit ones, so it's going to be a purl stitch on the right side, and then in the round you are knitting them as purl stitches. So because we're working in turn rows, we're going to knit them as knit stitches. So yarn over, knit stitch, and then continue working in pattern. 7, purl, knit, and then 3 purl stitches, 1, 2, 3, 2 together. Again, I'm just turning the knit stitch to go at top of the purl stitch, then 1 knit, yarn over, purl, yarn over, knit, and here is slip 1, knit 1, and pass the slipped stitch over the knit one. So slip 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over the knit one. Okay, and then purl 2, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1. 2 yarn overs were created, so not to forget, in the round you'll knit them as purl stitches, in turn rows you'll knit them as knit stitches. Knit, knit, knit. Row 9 or round 9, so knit, and here is 3 purls, 1, 2, 3, 2 together, knit 1, yarn over, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, yarn over, knit 1, and here slip 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over. You can see that the pattern is already forming. And then 2 purl stitches, knit 1, purl 1, and the edge stitch. Row 11, no, row 10. It's the wrong side. We simply work all stitches in pattern except for the yarn overs. They are knit stitches to have purl stitches on the right side. So row 11 starts with 3 purl stitches, 1, 2, 3, 2 together, knit 1, yarn over, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, yarn over, knit one, slip stitch, knit one, pass the slipped over, stitch over the knit one, and then we have here, where's that row, purl 2, knit one, whoops, I lost one, stitch, purl 2, knit one. Okay, and so to make the video a little bit shorter, I'm going to, from this point here, I'm going to show you just the how to knit the odd rows, and then you'll know that all even rows are knitted in pattern. Okay, so now we are here, row 15, actually row 13, 2 purls, 2 together, knit one, yarn over, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, yeah, yarn over, knit, and purl 2, okay, row 15, 1 purl, 2 together, knit one, yarn over, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, yarn over, and slipped, knit one, slip one, pass the slipped one over, and oh, I made a mistake, so it's a yarn over, then a knit stitch. That's why it's super important to have the markers between the patterns, because if you made a mistake and you have stitches left but there is nothing left for the pattern, then you would know that you made a mistake and you have to find that stitch and to fix it. Okay, and the purl stitch. All right, I just wanted to get to this point to show you how to do the slip stitches, and the rest of the pattern pretty much explanatory how to, so it's just you would know that this means that 2 together, this signs here means slip one, pass, knit one, pass the slipped one over, and then here it just switches. Instead of 2 together, you would need just knit one, slip one, and pass the slipped one over the knit one, and here it's going to be just 2 together. So what you need to actually pay attention to is how your needles are stitches are positioned on the needles, because the 2 together have to stitches have to create a right linen decrease, and the slipped one, knit one, have to create the left linen decrease. Okay, so as you see here that these 2 stitches are going to be gonna have a nice you know, curve here. All right, okay, now I've got 1 stitch left, which is here. Where was I? 2 together and 1 knit, So I think I was here, right? Let's count the yarn overs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I'm missing 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I'm here. And when you work the pattern, it's probably even best to just mark it. Every time you need to row, you just put something like a check mark here that you've completed it. Say I just got lost in my rows. Yeah, I'm working on this one. 2 together. Yarn over knit, and I've got 2 left here, and I know that I'm on the right track. I haven't mismanaged the stitches, and then onto the right side, and we're gonna meet here. Okay, all right, so our last odd row before we actually start doing this slip in the yarn. So, and we just gonna quickly, so these are knit stitches, 2 knit stitches, and then all the, you know, the sit stitch pattern all up to the last 2 stitches. Okay, we start with the purl stitch. No yarn overs in this row. And the pattern aligns. All right, guys. So here we are. So let's say you choose to knit in turn rows, and that's going to be your seam. And this is where you're gonna skip your yarn. And so the other pattern on the other side is gonna have the same 2 stitches, like just right here, where you're gonna join them together. Okay, in my case, so it's going to look like this. So you're gonna have a seam here, 2 here, skipped stitches, and 2 here. Okay, in my case, because it's in the round, there are no seams, and it's just like the continuation of patterns create 4 knit stitches, and then slips the yarn that is in front of the slip stitches. Okay, so it creates a nice kind of shape like that. Okay, as I said, it's very super simple. You simply keep the yarn in front of work. Here we have an edge stitch, but if you work in the round, you don't have anything, and then doing this, whoop, and that's it. Keep the even tension, and then you do knit, slip, knit, purl, knit, purl. Two stitches left, yarn in front, slip the stitches. If you feel like you're knitting too tight, I would just hold this last stitch a little bit with your finger, and if the yarn is fluffy, it's gonna be very forgiving on the pattern, and it's not gonna show that it's like, you know, hanging like that. It's gonna be just the volume of the yarn will create a nice shape. but it's better this way than you know, over tighten the stitches. Just okay, so I allow my stitches to rest loosely on the needles, and I see that the tension is even. And now what we do here, do I have a cheat sheet here? No, I do not. Then this is what I was doing here. I don't knit the stitches because I need, see, there are like, okay, 1 2 3, that means I've got 6 rows or rounds where I need to slip the yarn. Okay, and if you look here, I've got 1 2 3, 1 2 3, and 1 2 3 4. Okay, and on the other sides, let's take a look on the other side. What is there? So I've skipped in total 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6, 6 rows or rounds. So you do not need the stitches on the purl side or in the round. You simply keep the yarn. Did I say 4? 1 2 3 4 5. No, it's 5 actually, or even 6. Yeah, it would make sense to have 6. 1 2 3 4 5 6, because it's 6 rows or rounds, right? So it was just hiding. Little sneaky yarn. Okay, so once we made that clear that we're not knitting those stitches, we simply slip. So working in the round is going to be very simple. The next round you're going to be right here, and then again you won't need these 2 stitches or 4. You simply slip the yarn, keep the yarn in front, and then slip those stitches without knitting. On the wrong side, there will be slightly like modification. You need the yarn in behind the work, right? So you slip the stitches, keep the yarn, hold the edge stitch a little bit with your finger, or the stitch that is before this 2 or 4, and then continue working in pattern. So my 2 stitches left here, so slip them onto the right needle, hold it a little bit, edge stitch, turn work, and I've got 2 rows where I slipped already my stitches, and you can see. And now I do the exact same thing. I slip the stitches, hold it a little bit, not to over you know, tighten the stitches. And now I'm just looking at, so 1 2, I'm on this row right now, 1 2 3 on this one, on the 23rd. So I have 2 knit stitches here. Okay, 1 2, and then purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. So, and I need to have 2 knit stitches before the stitches that I'm going to slip the yarn in front of my work. So knit, purl, knit, knit, and again I'm ready to slip those stitches. Hold it a little bit with your finger. If you're working in turn rows, it's very super important, because the edge stitch tends to get overstretched, and then it's going to pull the yarn from here, which we do not want. And you can see it already. So we've completed 3 slipped 3 rows with slipped stitches. And now we're gonna repeat the same thing on the wrong side. We're not going to knit them. And then continue working in pattern. All right, so I've got 2 stitches left. I slip them again, turn, see how the edge stitch is getting stretched. So that's the only thing to keep in mind when you work in turn rows. Then you take this simply yarn and pull it back to where it's supposed to be. Okay, and that is going to be, so you got the idea, right? So you work like that for 6 rows or rounds where you need to slip the yarn in front of work. So in the round it's in front of work, in turn rows it's on the wrong sides, it's behind work, on the right side it's in front of work. Okay, the other thing to mention, so if you say like the pattern you would like to knit something similar, I used 3 and a little bit skeins of the yarn for my size, medium size. If you choose to knit different yarn with different needle size, you would need to measure your chest circumference and to add to this to the centimeters, to the measurement that you're gonna get, about 10-15 centimeters of positive ease. And then this number you will need to divide by the number of stitches in 1 centimeter. So in my case it is just give me 1 second. In my case it's 1.6. Sorry guys, I'm rushing through the video to give you the most information, the more information I possibly could in a shorter amount of time. So you measure yourself, your chest circumference at 10-15 centimeters of ease, and you don't divide, you multiply the number by the number of stitches in 1 centimeter. This is how you calculate how many stitches you would need for your size to create a sweater. If it's an oversized fit, you can add more, like of ease. Instead of 10-15, you can add like 20-30. And then see if this pattern calls for 17 stitches. For my size, I determined that I need 5 full patterns for the front, 5 for the back. But if it's a different number for you, you just need to estimate how many patterns you would need for the sweater, to create a sweater. But be mindful that this number has to have an even the stitches for an even number of patterns, otherwise you would not be able to divide the front and back evenly to create, you know, 2 patterns here, an appearance, 1 in the middle and 2 for the other shoulder. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful, and I really wish you happy knitting, and I hope you're gonna create something similar like that. Thanks and happy knitting.